Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and today we're going to be making some convenience jar foods. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Vegan Prepper. Vegan Prepper. Okay, so I've got 3 different things on my list for today, and that is the solids to my omega-3 pasta sauce recipe, some hamburger helper, quote unquote, pasta instant meals in big quart jars, and then also a brand new thing I'm gonna be trying, which I think will be amazing, but maybe kind of dumb. I'll have to decide, is some pre-prepared tea jars where I just put the herbs that I'm going to brew in the jar so that all I have to do is pour hot water on top when it's time for me to make my daily health supporting tea. So let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, I will show you the pasta sauce jars. So a couple helpful things it is handy to have before you start is, well, for one, your jars, obviously. And I like to just bring out my entire tray of measuring spoons, even though I never end up using them all. And then I have my lids ready to go right here. I'm just using some of these plastic lids, and my recipe. This is actually the original omega-3 pasta sauce recipe as transcribed from my online notes in my drive by my son. This is like when he was like a few years ago. He was kind of still like young, and he wrote these recipes out for me, and I really treasure them. But anyway, this is the original recipe. It is on the channel. The only thing I'm changing here, because of the fact that I'm turning this into a convenience mix, and so this is going to also kind of show you how, if you want to turn your own recipes into your own convenience mixes, something that you might like look at to see, is right here, the 2 teaspoons of maple syrup or agave syrup. I'm changing that to just coconut sugar because I want this to be a fully dry jar. So we're not doing actual canning. We're just making basically some, like I said, some kind of convenience mixes. And the other thing is, I don't know what has been going on lately with the flax, but it seems like it gels like crazy. I don't know if this particular batch is just super fresh or what. I grind it myself from whole flax seeds and put it in a jar. But like I said, I just don't know what's going on. So I have started cutting the flax content of the recipe in half. So even though a single recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of ground flax, I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of ground flax for this, which is meant to be a double, or like all of the dry ingredients for the double recipe of sauce. So the end goal here is to end up with something where when I need to make myself a double batch of sauce, which is basically pretty much every time I make the sauce, I make a double batch. Literally all I will have to do myself at that point is get the cans of tomato paste and the water, and then I'll be able to take the jar contents and just go phew, and then whisk it all in, heat it up, and boom, I will have my sauce. So let's go ahead and actually like make the little jars. Okay, so next up we're making 4 more jars. So I'm gonna have 5 total of this one, which is for my vegan quote unquote hamburger helper, which is already on the channel in the vegan home cooking playlist. So basically what I put in is 8 ounces of a gluten-free pasta. This time I'm doing rice pasta, 1/2 cup of textured vegetable protein, You could use dehydrated beans, but I'm using an organic textured vegetable protein I get off of Amazon. Assuming that not a lot of people have a big store of dehydrated beans or can necessarily easily make them if you don't have a dehydrator. So this is a great option. Actually, my family likes the TVP the best. The texture is really good. And then I use a seasoning packet for now of this fish taco seasoning packet, which I've mentioned many times on the channel. I love this stuff. I was actually though I'm never going to use it again though, because I was just looking up to replenish my supply because my last 12 pack that I had bought on Azure Standard is gone. And they have jumped in price so much I won't be buying them again. I used to kind of like, they were a little pricey, but not like, I wouldn't consider them expensive. But now I consider them expensive. So basically, since I decided I'm no longer going to use them, I want to go ahead and just use them up and kind of get them out. And then I'll start experimenting with something new pretty soon. So for now, I am using a pre-prepared seasoning packet, but it's pretty easy to come up with your own seasonings. So like for instance, I was thinking, especially like with the TVP, when it gets reconstituted, it feels a lot like a ground chicken or a ground turkey even, but like the ground chicken. And so like I was thinking something like chicken noodle soup type flavors would be really good. So maybe like a couple teaspoons of garlic, like a half a teaspoon of thyme, a little salt, little nutritional yeast. You can kind of play with your flavors and also find flavor ideas basically all over the internet all day long. But yeah, it'd be a great place for you to experiment using some spices, and I am certainly going to have fun experimenting now that I'm going to have this all used up. But let me go ahead and show you the actual process, and I'll just show you, like, it's very simple, but there's like a few steps involved. Okay, this is going to be loud, so I apologize in advance. But basically, I have my little kitchen scale here. I go ahead and turn it on. I get it tiered with a jar and the funnel on top. And now I will pour 8 ounces of pasta. Now I should have 8 ounces left in here, I hope, because I just made the first jar with the first 8 ounces. Sorry, like I said, loud. Okay, so that's a little over 8 ounces, and that's fine. It's still, you know, basically close enough. If I really care, I could like take a few out and split it between the 2 jars. But you know, I don't think that matters that much at this level. And so then I'm going to go ahead and just add in my, oh, you know what? I think I did the TVP next in the other jar. I don't think it matters. But here, I'm gonna get my half cup of TVP. And TVP is also a great thing to have, I think, on hand for long-term storage. It's got a shelf life of something like 10 to 15 years. So that's a great long-term storage item if you can tolerate soy. But yeah, there we go. It is that easy in real time to fill the jar. Well, of course, I already had it. You know, the pasta was already measured, but it is basically the same procedure every time. It doesn't take much longer than that, ever. Hop on really fast because I didn't talk about my pastas. I got the Trader Joe's pasta. Like I used to always get the brown rice pasta from Trader Joe's, which is still, I think, the cheapest gluten-free pasta possibly in existence. It's like $1.99 for a full 16 ounces. It's a great deal and it's really yummy pasta. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. It's a great little pasta to have. I just have stopped buying it because I have moved on to the Tinkyada brown rice pasta, which I can get by a 10-pound bulk bag on Azure Standard, which I really appreciate because I feel like it's less packaging and I don't know, I just appreciate that. So That's the main reason I was moving on. This is a bit more expensive, but I've also discovered I think it's better. Not that the Trader Joe's one is bad, but I do think that this one has a superior texture and taste. Also, as far as the lasagna so far, I haven't tried the shells yet, but so far the lasagna is good cold, which is kind of, for me, and I've mentioned it on the channel before, it's kind of the holy grail, like, or the unicorn maybe, of gluten-free pastas, is to find one that tastes good cold. So somebody mentioned a pasta salad in the comments of one of the videos, asking if, since I mentioned that the tinkyata lasagna was really good cold, if it would be good, like the shells or whatever would be good for pasta salad. And the truth is, I just don't know yet. I haven't tried yet cooking the shells and eating them cold, but hopefully very soon I will attempt a pasta salad with the tinkyata shells and bring you guys the results. But if any of you have ever done a pasta salad using the tinkyata brown rice pasta, please let us know down in the description or in the comments below. Let us know in the comments so that we can know. Thank you. Okay, so this is the one that might seem a little silly or a little pointless, but basically I'm going to make 10 jars, because that's how many jars I have right now. I'm going to make 10 jars of tea, but not tea, just the leaves in the jar, which is where I'm going to brew the tea. So I have fallen out of the habit of having my daily nutritive tea, and I feel like I am feeling the results of that, which are not good. I miss it very much, but for whatever reason, I have no clue why it seems like it's become too much trouble for me to put my tea together every day. And some of the things that I have noticed is just getting it in the jar, and then maybe even not being able to find a clean jar for this specific purpose. And so I'm trying to remove as many obstacles as possible so that I can put this good habit into my life. So this is definitely not like long-term stocking or whatever, but this is, I think, prepping on kind of another like really long-term level, that you want to be healthy for as long as possible. So you try to have good habits, and this is a habit that I need to restart. So basically what I'm going to do is make just a very basic nutritive type tea blend, which I've done before many times, and it helps me out a lot. Oat straw for just the minerals, the gentle healing of the myelin sheath, for nerve support, the nervous system. So this is definitely like stress. It's also muscle repair, all kinds of amazing things in oat straw. I've talked about it many times before, but it's many things that I need so desperately. Lemon balm, also a fantastic nervous system helper, for, it calms emotions, but also sharpens the mind. It is just a fantastic, fantastic herb to have, especially if you've been feeling any kind of stress, but also just like for nervous system type stress. So not necessarily even stress that you feel like, oh, I'm so stressed, but like just the stress sometimes of daily living that adds up and kind of contributes to the destruction of that myelin sheath of the nerves. And so this is fantastic for kind of replenishing that. And then also nettles, because of course nettles, we can't ever not have nettles in a tea blend. This is kind of like the one thing that is never not in my tea blends. This is just super rich, so rich in nutrients, minerals, vitamins, all kinds of stuff, calcium, iron, all kinds of stuff. This too is super rich in minerals and nutrients. And so it also is very specific for like adrenal fatigue, especially for people who have exhausted their adrenals, either via stress or like with too much coffee consumption, things like that. So anybody who has just sort of like a general fatigue that nothing ever seems to fix, if you've been checked and it's not like some underlying condition. So none of this is meant to replace doctor advice, of course, but doctors don't have answers or whatever. Maybe try some nettles and see if that helps bolster you. I think so much of the reason that nettles are so powerful is because of how nutritious they are. So yeah, nettles. So basically I'm just gonna do, because for me personally, I have noticed in one of these jars, because I never fill it all the way to the top with water, it ends up being roughly 3.5 cups of tea when I'm done, because it's 4 cups all the way to the top. And so I will put in 3 tablespoons of the medicinal herbs and then just brew it like that. And so I will also be adding about like a slightly heaping teaspoon of stevia leaf. Now this is a stevia leaf which I purchased from Mountain Rose Herbs, which is a delicious stevia. I did have somebody in the comments at one point say that they purchased a stevia off of Amazon that was disgusting, and I said, oh my gosh, so did I. So I have a gross stevia over there that basically I'm gonna use as mulch in my yard because it's gross and you can't use it for anything. Actually, let me go get the bag so you know what not to buy. It's this one. Terrible. I don't know, it's possible that some of their other stuff is good, but their stevia is terrible. So do not get it from these guys. Get it from Mountain Rose Herbs, and then you will know that you're getting a good, high quality product. I've never had an issue at all with Mountain Rose Herbs. And then as a really fast note, for anybody who has never heard of stevia as a plant and has only ever thought of it as an artificial sweetener, because I have watched YouTube videos, I've seen things where people describe stevia as an artificial sweetener. It is not. There is nothing artificial about it in its plant form. Now it has of course gotten its, you know, it has its own highly processed version, you know, that you know, companies have figured out, oh, this leaf sweetens things, let's turn it into some sort of crystallized form. And so yeah, that's very highly processed and an artificial sweetener, I would consider it at that point. But you'll see, all I do is just add, at this point for this batch, it's a little more than a teaspoon is what it takes to sweeten this jar. It usually goes between the batch of stevia. Sometimes they're very strong, sometimes they're not quite as strong. This one is not necessarily as strong. It goes from about a teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons per, like roughly 3.5 cups of tea is what I use when I'm brewing it. And I brew it for like 45 minutes to an hour in boiling water, in case anybody is wondering. And so the other thing, because I'm going to be just putting the herbs loose, I got the idea all of a sudden, so let me show you, that I have these sprouting lids. So my plan is to, once it's brewed, if I want to, I could just pour it into another jar or container or whatever and strain it like with the sprouting lid. So I feel kind of genius about this idea, and I'm excited to try it out and see if it actually works. I don't mind the leaves in my tea. After it brews, they do settle, but when you get to the bottom, you do still want to get that last bit of tea. So you do want to strain it at a certain point. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get these jars filled. This is taking long enough. Okay, let's see if this idea works at all. I don't know how well this will pour, so let's go ahead and see. So this will strain out, you know, most of the really big stuff, but some of the little stuff we'll still get through, and that's what this one's for. All right, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's probably not something I'm going to want to be doing on a cup by cup basis. I'm realizing I could empty the leaves into an infuser before I start the brewing process, and that might not be too big of a deal to just take the jar and kind of go gung 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 into like an infuser that would fit in there so that I won't have to deal with the straining. But I think overall that was pretty good. This is going to be great for when I do tea for parties in my half-gallon ball jars, and I'll just have this to be able to pour it out without necessarily having to strain every single jar of tea before I serve it to people. But anyway, Oh wow, it's delicious. I love that. It's a really yummy tea blend. So it was just 1 part nettles, 1 part oatstraw, 1 part lemon balm. It's absolutely delicious. And I think that's going to be it for me for this video. Great, I'm obviously still figuring out the tea thing. I have not done that before, but I think it's very promising. I'm looking forward to it. I will give you guys feedback in the next week or so, I guess, how this is gonna go, if I get my tea in more, and I probably will. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That was helpful to you at all. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. It just never stops. All right, super fast update on this. This doesn't really work. And so there's a couple reasons, and then I swear I am actually going to leave you guys. So for one, I don't like that you can't really press out what's left in the jar, but the primary issue is, well, not only does this not seem to pour very well in general, it actually, when you bring it back up, I guess this is not forming a seal and it leaks out of the side here where the threading is. So I am basically going to go forward doing what I said briefly, where I'm going to have my tea strainer and I'm going to just take the contents of the jar and just go like that and rain little bits of tea everywhere. There is a bit left in the jar, but there always is when I use this, so I'm not overly concerned about it, because if it is a huge deal, then I can just still use that little strainer thing I have for when I get to the very end of it. Although I don't usually, I've kind of mastered the art of drinking. You sort of let it settle and then slowly drink, and what's left will stay in the bottom. So I've like kind of mastered this at this point. But yeah, so now my thing is in there, and now pour the hot water, put this on top, let it steep, and I will have myself my daily tea. And I don't think, actually, I think it still saves a lot of money. I'm actually really excited about this. I feel like this is going to work really well. So I will continue giving updates, but I just could not leave you guys with the possibility that that would work, because it just kind of doesn't really work. So a little bit of a bummer. But of course, that's not what they were designed to do. These are sprouting lids, not strain and pour lids. So anyway, I guess that's it. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.